Hello everyone. I wanted to make a video today just talking a little more about my story and what has made me so passionate about vagus nerve stimulation and getting this information out to people. So my journey with vagus nerve stimulation started when I developed long COVID. So in 2022, Memorial Day weekend, I got the COVID virus and I had a pretty typical infection for somebody in my age group. However, I just didn't seem to recover completely. I remember it started with some heavy legs when I would take my son for walks around the neighborhood, and I started asking my friends who had had COVID before me if they had those same experiences, and of course they had not. And essentially over the course of the next 6 months, I got much worse. It got to the point where I was housebound and essentially couchbound. I wasn't able to do any of the things I would usually do to take care of my kids. I couldn't walk out to the car without getting shortness of breath, and I was pretty much just trapped in the house. And I really was trying so many different things to get better, and I couldn't seem to get any results. I started finally finding some answers around the new year 2023. I found an amazing naturopath, Dr. Jessica Corbet-Harris at Elevated Natural Health in Seattle, and she got me started on a medication called low-dose naltrexone. And the low-dose naltrexone really helped get me out of that kind of initial dark place that I had been in with the long COVID. And I started getting out more, taking my kids out to do things, even though I still wasn't feeling well, and ended up pushing myself too hard, and I had a really big crash and ended up back on the couch. Around that same time, I had also finally gotten an appointment with the University of Washington Long COVID Clinic. It took me about 6 months to get my visit there, but I had a wonderful doctor there as well, and right after that crash, I had a follow-up visit scheduled with her. And I told her about things, and she explained to me how our serotonin tanks when we have long COVID or ME/CFS. And she encouraged me to consider taking an SSRI, which is better known as an anti-anxiety medication. And so at that point, having had that rough crash, I decided to start taking a very low dose, like a quarter of the typical dose of an SSRI. Those two medications combined did help. I like to say the medications got me off the couch, and the vagus nerve stimulation got me out of the house. So getting on those medications helped me get to a point of more stability in my nervous system. I was at that point better able to do my basic things, take care of my kids, do some things around the house, even drive my kids some places. But I still was not feeling well at all, and I certainly wasn't back to my normal life at that point. The medications did help me start thinking more clearly, however, and I was starting to draw some parallels amongst all the recovery stories and things that I was watching on YouTube, and the recovery programs that were available out there. And what I was finally realizing is that what people were doing to recover is finding a place in their activity level where their nervous system could come out of the sympathetic overdrive state. So I was seeing that what was happening with the long COVID is that the nervous system had shifted into the sympathetic overdrive, as though somebody had gone into my brain and flipped a switch, and I was stuck in this fight or flight state. And we have these two halves of our nervous system, as I've explained before. Within the autonomic nervous system, we have the sympathetic, which is our fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, which is our rest and digest. And I needed to find a way to get into that parasympathetic nervous system state so that my body could start calming down and I could start increasing my activity. And so what I was seeing is that what people were doing is getting into that parasympathetic state, letting their nervous system come down from that sympathetic overdrive, and then slowly adding activity at a pace at which their nervous system could maintain the parasympathetic state. And they were using tools to maintain that parasympathetic state, like meditation, breathing, etc., cold exposure. And for me, what I tended to struggle with was just that I had this mandatory kind of activity level on a daily basis of taking care of my kids that was both physically demanding and emotionally demanding. And I struggled quite a bit with noise, things like my kids crying, made it difficult for my nervous system to shift down into that parasympathetic state. And I started doing some breathing, which helped. Just doing paced breathing seemed to start calming my nervous system down a bit. And certainly the nourishment from the medications I was on was helping as well. And at some point in my research and my YouTube rabbit hole delving, I had heard about vagus nerve stimulation, and it had kind of just stuck in my brain. And I started doing more research on that, looking into it, seeing what I could do, and I came across the ability to use a TENS unit. And as a physical therapist, I'm very familiar with the use of a TENS unit, but I'd never heard of using it to stimulate the vagus nerve before. So I got myself my TENS unit and got it all set up with the appropriate parameters. And I remember the first time clipping it on my ear, it was as though my nervous system just went, like I had finally shifted down. And that first day, I would put it on at 1 o'clock for 15 minutes, take it off, put it back on at 2 o'clock for 15 minutes, take it off, put it back on at 3 o'clock. And I would just do that all day long until I felt my nervous system starting to stay more consistently in that parasympathetic state. The beautiful thing for me about using the vagus nerve stimulation is that I could clip it on and still do what I needed to do to take care of my kids. So I didn't have to necessarily go lay down and meditate, which I also loved when I had the opportunity, but I didn't always have the opportunity. So I could be doing whatever it was I needed to do to take care of my kids while I had the vagus nerve stimulation on. That really made a dramatic difference for me in maintaining that parasympathetic state in my nervous system. Then as my recovery continued and I was better able to get out of the house and do more activities, I could keep the vagus nerve stimulation on while I was in more challenging environments. So, for example, something like going to Costco or the grocery store for me was very, very difficult. And the lights, the sounds, the movement, keeping track of my kids, it was really, really hard for me. So having the stimulation to my nervous system, my parasympathetic nervous system, made that more tolerable over time. And I just kept wearing the vagus nerve stimulation while I was in challenging environments until I could go into Costco without having my symptoms get worse. And that was a huge, huge change for me in my recovery. It was so important. Once I went back to work, it took me about, I believe it was about a year after starting vagus nerve stimulation. Nope, 8 months. 8 months after starting vagus nerve stimulation that I was able to return to some work, very, very light work, seeing just a couple of patients a couple times a week. I started realizing how many applications there were for vagus nerve stimulation. I already specialized in working with patients with chronic pain prior to my illness, and I found that my patients responded really well to vagus nerve stimulation as part of their treatment plan. And so I started doing more and more research on the vagus nerve, on vagus nerve stimulation, and realized there are so many applications and so many people that can benefit from it. So my goal with starting this YouTube channel is to just get this information out there for people. I'm going to have lots of different videos about all different types of conditions that vagus nerve stimulation can help with, and why that's the case, what the research is showing, and what's happening in the nervous system. So I'm so grateful for you for being here and for listening to my story. Please stay tuned, like and subscribe. And of course, all this information on my channel is for informational purposes only. Please always discuss any new treatments you're considering with your medical provider. Thank you for being here today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.